So, folks, I don't have like a flippant intro for this particular portion of the stream. But one of the news pieces that came out today is essentially the state of Gaza's population. It's been well over 2 months of a blockade on all food, water, medical supplies going into Gaza. Al Jazeera released like a map of just estimated insecurity of food across the entire area here. See if I can make it bigger. Entire population of Gaza, about 2.1 million people, is experiencing high levels of acute food insecurity. And 93% of the analyzed population is in IPC phase 3 or above, which is crisis. Households experience food shortages that significantly affect their health and livelihoods. IPC 4 is emergency. Households face severe food shortages, high malnutrition, and even death, requiring urgent intervention. And 5 being catastrophe. Households experience extreme food shortages and starvation with high death rates. Immediate action is needed to save their lives. And it's real bad. And I don't really know how to capture how bad it is. People are eating leaves. People are eating, drinking seawater. People are like, it is bad. Okay? And one of the stories that came out today, it's a two-parter here. The UN humanitarian chief put out a statement today saying that if in the next 48 hours, if there is not food delivered into Gaza, if aid trucks are not allowed to flow into Gaza, 14,000 babies could die. So that's kind of the situation right now. What happens if you drink seawater? Well, I'm not a medical expert, but bad shit usually. Bad shit. Yep, within 48 hours. There are a number of different ways in which they attempt to filter water. It's not exactly seawater, but it is contaminated. It is saltier than, most potable water. And I need you all to understand that it's so bad that Israel's the main opposition leader to Netanyahu, who's an ex-Israeli general, is now calling out Netanyahu for essentially killing babies for sport. I really don't. I really, really, really need to emphasize now's not the time to be super pedantic about the words that I'm trying to use here, because I'm trying to convey something that's very difficult. I understand that it's not drinkable water, and yet they must drink something. So they drink what they can try to drink. And you want to know something? Some of them die. I'm sorry I can't give you better news, guys. They're doing the best they can to survive. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded with anger Tuesday after a former senior military official said Israel risked becoming a pariah state over the war in Gaza, which, it's 2025. You've been doing this for 2 years. A sane country does not wage war against civilians, does not kill babies as a pastime, and does not engage in mass population displacement. Yair Golan, a left-wing opposition voice and the former deputy chief of staff of the Israeli army, said in a charged interview with local radio station Reshet Bet. Comparing Israel's actions to those of South Africa during the decades of apartheid, Golan, the leader of the Small Democrats Party and a longtime critic of Netanyahu, added, "The Jewish people who have endured persecution, pogroms, and genocides throughout our history are the ones now taking actions that are utterly unconscionable." And of course, Netanyahu responded by saying it was outrageous incitement against our heroic soldiers and against the state of Israel. And of course, other folks in his cabinet called those statements that are accurate, by the way, blood libel.
Hey Jack, I don't get to catch all of these streams, but I wanted to show some extra support. From another transfemi deeply into politics, thanks for doing what you do.
Mithril Teacup, thank you for the $10 Australian. I very, very much appreciate it. They're literally saying anyone who is engaging in criticizing the actions of the Israeli state and the Israeli military is perpetuating blood libel. One of the oldest forms of anti-Semitism. Okay? And like, this is a picture of a 12-year-old girl taken on May 4th. It is currently May 20th. No aid has gone into Gaza. I'm sorry. It's a genocide, guys. Anyone who is out there trying to defend this, well, we just had to starve a 12-year-old girl into being like a skeleton. You know, otherwise the terrorists win. Do you understand how evil you have to be to make that statement? To like think that you're the good person in this scenario defending that? That looks like weeks without food. It's, you know, after Israel, you know, unilaterally ended the ceasefire that was started, they stopped sending aid into Gaza. They stopped allowing aid into Gaza. You might ask, why isn't aid from Egypt going into Gaza? And it's because the Israeli military seized Rafah, the Rafah crossing, and nothing now goes into Gaza. It is completely and utterly surrounded and controlled by the Israeli military. Not to mention the parallels to the
concentration camp photos of emaciation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have called Gaza for decades an open-air prison, the world's largest concentration camp. And, you know, we know what happened in the concentration camps. Why are they starving children? Do you want the answer that they give, or do you want the real answer? Because the answer they give is that they are doing this so that they can, you know, eliminate the terrorist threat. And the threat of Hamas. Because their claim is this is asymmetrical warfare. You know, if they leave Gaza, you know, like Hamas is just going to come back and like try and kill them again. And no, the cruelty isn't the point here, unfortunately. Because the point of this is more evil than that. What is currently being talked about both in the United States military as well as the Israeli military is how to move millions of people from Gaza into neighboring countries. And I want to remind a lot of people that maybe a year or so ago, there was a memo that was leaked from the Israeli government where Netanyahu had tasked a member of his cabinet staff to essentially come up with a way to do this, to do the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And essentially what the memo said, and we went over it on stream, is that they wanted to thin the herd because it becomes more politically viable to do the ethnic cleansing if there are fewer people in Gaza. And so the real reason they are doing this is not to defeat Hamas. The real reason they are doing this is because it is part of an ethno-nationalist project. Because here's one of the core problems. You know, they do not want, accept, or acknowledge a two-state solution. The state of Israel rejects that outright. And instead, what they are looking to do is a one-state solution. They want to annex and absorb Gaza as well as the West Bank. And there's an entire faction within Israeli politics that wants to create Greater Israel, which is the recreation of the borders of ancient Israel, and that includes territory from a number of surrounding countries as well. But part of it is, you know, annexing Gaza and the West Bank. Now, if they did that, there are millions and millions of people there who would change the voting and demographic landscape of Israel. The issue with that is that, well, the powers that be in Israel don't want anything to rock the boat. So they're at a bit of an impasse. You know, there are too many people there to annex, and they can't. They aren't going to let them leave unless they're going to a specific country that will effectively hold them. And so what they are doing is deliberately killing civilians. What is happening in Gaza is bare minimum a war crime, but the fact that this has been happening for months and months, no food, no medical aid, no water, that is to kill civilians. And what they're trying to do is to make it a more palatable project to accept refugees from Gaza in other nations. What about the Jewish people who don't support this shit? Well, remember that the state of Israel is not Jews. Like, Judaism and Israel are two different things. I don't want to see anyone even attempting or accidentally conflating that in my chat. Don't do it. So what I'm trying to get at here is that's how you end up with this. That's how you get this. Okay? Don't allow these genocidal freaks to hide behind Judaism. Judaism doesn't do this. People who support genocide do. People who support genocide in the name of building an ethno-state support this. I don't care what religious affiliation an ethno-nationalist has. They are no friend of mine. So, yeah. That's a kid that is too far. There literally, if aid trucks are not allowed to go into Israel or into Gaza in the next 48 hours, an estimated 14,000 babies are going to die. This is a picture of a 12-year-old girl. There are babies that are starving to death. Babies. I've seen the pictures and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I have to tell you guys that this is all possible thanks to the United States. Okay? This is happening not just because the Israeli state wills it, it is doing because the United States allows it. It allowed it under Joe Biden. It's come to light that Joe Biden's claims of making progress were essentially fabricated. Different Israeli officials basically have gone on the record saying Joe Biden basically never asked us to do anything. And, it's continuing under Trump. It's getting worse. Isn't the UN supposed to step in at some point? Yeah, except you know who runs the UN Security Council and can veto something unilaterally? The United States. Because there are certain types of people in this world that crave power and they're willing to step over the corpses of children to get it and to maintain it. And frankly, it's our mission and our duty to oppose those people with every single fiber and moment of our being. And I don't know, if you're looking for something to call your representatives about this week or next week, tonight, Gaza would be an excellent place to start.